folks, good evening to one and all, and great to be with you as always on a Wednesday night doing that which we love, iRacing, under iRSA, iRacing South Africa, and that comes through with the approval of MSA Motorsport South Africa. Great to be here with you, coming to you from the Second Gear Production Studios down here in the friendly city of Cape Town in Velgelegen, where the rain is due to come down from the early hours of the morning. But joining me in the studio before the rain comes down, the voice of West Province Motorsport, the man that's commentated everything on two wheels and four wheels for the last 3 decades around South Africa, Jacky Ickx. Welcome to the studio and welcome to Spa-Francorchamps.
Gary, good day. Yes, Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. That's where we are for the Porsche Cup. Remember, 2 weeks ago we were here for the GT3 series, and now we are here for the Porsche Cup. One more round left for GT3 and for Porsche Cup, and that will be the beginning of next month. We will be in France at Le Mans. But yes, the second last round is at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. 18 degrees out there, cloudy, 4k an hour winds, track temperature is 21, and the circuit is 6.93 kilometers, almost 7 k's for one lap.
Well, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this one plays itself out with, as Frankie said, the second last round of the iRSA. There you see it on the side of the car, iRSA, iRacing South Africa, Spa-Francorchamps, round number 7 of 8 rounds for 2023. Brought to you by ASAP New and Used Car Parts, and they up in the Pretoria side of the world, not down here in Cape Town. The man you see there on screen, that is Jacky Ickx. He's the first of the guys to go out of the pits, and everybody gets a warm-up lap, then they get 2 flying laps if all goes well for them and they don't have off. If they have an off where they go outside of track limits, if you ever watched Formula 1 ever in your life in 2023, you'll know about track limits, and then the computer will not credit you with that time at all. So they've got to do at least one of those 2 laps, must be clean laps. And a big thanks to that man on screen, Jacky Ickx. He puts it all together.
Yeah, he's the head honcho, the brainchild of Porsche Cup, Clio Cup and GT3. As we have a look at Jaco Forster of JV Workshop, busy making his way around in the 000 car. The man that does all the designs for a lot of the drivers, and that's just one of his masterworks that you see there on that Porsche of his. Yasamai, man that got driver of the day a while ago, a couple of race meetings ago. Yasamai out there with a 7 car. The Boltman, Robbie Teams, is out there with the 23 Porsche.
And frankly, that's the colors that we're accustomed to seeing him in race for race. Doesn't matter what he's driving, he ends up with those colors.
Yeah, Team Bolt. Here comes Atti Nagel in the 78 car. He will be one of the front runners together with Jacky Ickx and Jaco Forster. And Yasamai will also be in there. There is Low Wrigley in the 44 car, and Peekaboo standing there on the front end of that 44 Porsche as he makes his way up Eau Rouge and Radion. Wayne Masters is out there with a 20 car, as he's circulating around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. So we'll see the times come up shortly. Remember, it takes just over 2 minutes to do one lap. The track is 6.93 k's long, so it takes a while as we watch Pieter van Zyl.
Well, keeping in mind that they are now all probably on their second lap, as you can see there, coming across the start-finish line, and that is Rudiger Schussler, a man that joined the series during the course of 2023 with the Valiant sponsorship, the 222 on that motor car, and he's now starting his first flying lap in his favorite colors in the cheapercars.co.za. That's Herman Lazarus. They, in fact, Frankie, are going to be changing the name of cheapercars.co.za. As he explained, they've pretty much moved up in the marketplace, and Cheaper Cars doesn't actually
cut it anymore.
depict. Yeah, it doesn't depict. I think that's my word for the day. Doesn't depict the market space that they are actually in. So I said, well, to lose cheaper cars would be a disappointment, but yeah, I suppose you got to move with the times.
So, coming around is Nathan Victor, and I think this is his maiden outing in the Porsche Cup. That's brought to you by MSA. Remember, it's a MSA sanctioned club series, is a Porsche Cup, whereas the GT3 is a national series. As we look back at Jacky Ickx in the 88 car. So, hopefully, if all goes well, his time should come through pretty soon, because I think this will be, no, not yet. Jaco Foster also working his way into turn 1 into Les Sources.
There we go. So Jaco Ickx was a bit late to come out. Yep. Jaco Foster, the next man that comes through, probably Peter van Zyl. Yep, there he comes across the line. He's Peter van Zyl, and then I think Herman Lazarus is just about there as well. There he comes. He'll come up towards the line now. So 2 minutes 19.969. That's pretty quick. That's really not bad. Jaco Foster, the man that's closest to him, 0.2 of a second. And then Yaz Sabai, the man that was dubbed as Mr. Porsche at the end of the first season of Porsche racing under iRSA. That was before pre-MSA affiliation as such. And it's nice to see that he's still into the Porsche series.
Nathan Victor popped up there in 4th position, 1.148 off Nagel at this stage of the game. And as I said, this is his maiden race to my knowledge. Rudiger Schussler making his way through the chicane and onto the main straight, heading down into turn 1 into the source. And he hasn't got a time yet. See Wayne Masters there. He's in the pits, but he's 1.561 behind Ati Nagel.
So we wait for the likes of Robbie Teams to come around as well. Well, a big welcome to the guys watching us at home live. Carl Wiltshire, Hilary Souls, John Kerry Haysalmon, Sonia McCarthy, Marius Fashi, Tiny Brunt, Pity Hubert, all of these guys that are busy watching. Hello, welcome. Nice to have you guys with us. And we look forward to bringing you a whole heap of action. 6 minutes 38. That is eclipsed so far. That's my second word for the day. Eclipsed. Yep. And it's Ati Nagel's biggies. 2 minutes 19.969 from Jaco Foster. Here comes Jaco Foster with that beautiful livery that he's got there. And he's coming on his second flying lap. So at this stage, he is quite okay on the front row of the grid. But then again, Yas Samai is not that far off whatsoever. So here he comes through now. He'll be the next man coming up towards the line as well. Jaco Ickx, because Jaco Ickx only went out of the pits a little bit later. Can Jaco Foster go any quicker? This is his second flying lap. And he slows it right down, so no, it does not look. He must have had an off somewhere because it didn't actually register that lap at all. So let's see, whereabouts is the rest of the guys. Ati Nagel, is he still out there? No, he's already gone off and into the pits. Let's see who else is out there still. Low Wrigley. Can we pick up Low Wrigley? Yep, he's on his way down the hill. Will he make up another lap? Just about, yes. 7 minutes 46. So it should be okay for him to get around and put in a flying lap. For them, Pina hasn't put up a lap yet, and there he is, the man in the Castrol colours, as always in the Porsche, as he works his way around.
So let's have a look and see where these guys pop up. Only 6 of them have posted times so far. There's quite a few that still need to, as Pina makes his way through the chicane. Down the main straight he goes towards turn 1, towards the source. So hopefully when he comes around next time, he will register some kind of a lap time in the 57 car, the Castrol man. He of course lives overseas, does Willem Pina, and representing the UK and Ireland. So he is in that part of the world. There's Peter van Zyl. He has put up a time, and he's 1.689, nearly 1.7 seconds behind provisional pole man Ati Nagel. So obviously trying to better that one. as we watch the cars work their way around.
It's Henri Pescarolo.
Yes.
He also has not put up a time yet, so it just shows you a lot. Oh, the Wild Rose Gin colours on there as well as ASAP. A big thanks to Henri Pescarolo, and a big thanks to ASAP New and Used Parts, the season sponsor for 2023 Porsche Cup 8 rounds. This is round number 7.
Yeah, Wild Rose Gin, of course, is also very much part of the Sports and GT series at Killarney for the Wild Rose Gin 100 kilometers that the Sports and GT guys do every now and then. So we'll wait and see when his time comes up as we go back to Willem Pinaar in the 57 Castrol Porsche, busy working his way around. So as I said, only 6 of the 14 drivers so far have posted some form of a time. Porsche, of course, not a very easy car to drive once you step out and you all the time.
Spa-Francorchamps, not an easy track to not go off limits as well. And there the 10 minutes is up. So let's see, how does that grid play itself out?
So only 6 of them have put up times. Atti Nagel and Jaco Forster on the front row of the grid. Row 2, Yasamai, Nathan Victor. Row 3, Wayne Masters and Peter van Zyl. They're the only 6 guys that have put up times.
Low Wrigley from Jaco Steyn. He was one of the top 3 in the practice. He finds himself in 8th position. Mark Devereaux from Rudiger Schuster. Robbie Teens, Willem Pinaar, Herman Lazarus, and Renier Hubert coming in at the back end of the pack. I'm going to hazard a guess that in the order that they came into the server is the way that the server will put them in onto the grid for those that did not put up times as such.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, yes. So we've got 45 minutes and let's see. I'm thinking if there are any pit stops, it'll be round about the half an hour mark. So the lights go off and away we go in a flyer off the line there by Atti Nagel. Atti Nagel with Forster, then Nathan Victor, the man of Summit Racing, is there in that 3rd place, but not for long because he's been challenged there by Mr. Peekaboo himself, and that is Low Wrigley as they make their way up Eau Rouge, and through Eau Rouge they go and onto the goal. Somebody's gone, and that is Low Wrigley, and he just gets hammered. No, it's not Low. A lie. It's
Jaco Forster.
Yes, it's Jaco Forster.
The man with the ultimate color scheme on the motor car, and he was one of the 3 quickest. Atti Nagel, Jaco Steyn, Jaco Forster. They were the 3 quickest in the pre-qualifying time that we had, 60 minutes. Look at that, just rubbing the back bumper. Low Wrigley all over the back of Nathan Victor.
Heading down into Bruxelles, working their way through Bruxelles. Nathan Victor in that 2nd place. We'll give you the intervals now because the front 2 are beginning to pull away there from Low Wrigley. So there is only 0.2 of a second, make it 0.3 between Victor and Wrigley. And they are now allowing Atti Nagel to get away because he's approaching 1.5 seconds ahead of Victor, Wrigley and the rest of them, all the way down to Wayne Masters.
It's almost as if Atti Nagel had time warmers on before the race started and the others didn't, but then again, yes, Atti Nagel, the success story of a 2020, running very wide, Peter van Zyl, the success story of 2023 has to be Atti Nagel, from there and thereabouts to up there at the front, and well, he's showing them a clean set of wheels. Now Nathan Victor was about 6 seconds off initially when he went into the 60-minute practice session, brought it down to 2.1, and then he had a very good flying lap, but ran out of time to complete it, and then obviously put up see all over the side of the curve there. He put up a very good time and had a very good opening first 2 corners that got himself so high up, overcooking it into the second last corners. Peter van Zyl.
Coming out of that chicane is Van Zyl, and Atti Nagel is the quickest guy out there, 2:24.769. And Peter van Zyl has been challenged, and he's been challenged by Forster. No, that's not Van Zyl. It is a Steyn that has come through. Sorry, Steyn in the 88 car. He's made a move there on Van Zyl. So Jaco Steyn has starting to move up through the field as they make their way through Eau Rouge Gradillon and onto that Kemmel straight. So Jacky Forster, look back from Jacky Forster at Peter van Zyl in that 33 car. And right behind him is Robbie Teams and Rudiger Schussler.
Yep, they're right in there, and Rudiger Schussler looking pretty good at this stage of the fight. He's in that 7th position. That's the valiant entry, Rudiger Schussler, and that's what it looks like if you were a spotlight on the front spoiler. That's what a Michelin sticker looks like when you rub the back end. Oh, Robbie Teams, the Bolt man.
And that's what a disc brake looks like as well, because you saw that right inside disc of the Robbie Teams Porsche. So we're right on board here with the nose cam on Schussler. Now the side cam, looking at that front left-hand side suspension and focusing there on Robbie Teams that is sitting just there ahead of him. And this group is now making its way into that double right-hander through campus, which will take them into Stavelot.
Wow, we rode right around the outside of Robbie Teams. Robbie fighting back through the right-hander. Now you've got to use all that extra run-off room. Now it's flat foot all the way from here as you work your way through the bottom end of the circuit. And the first time that you've really got a hold on is where they're going now, underneath that DHL bridge. You've got to really line it up very, very neatly. Then you've got one more right-hander thereafter, and there is run-off room, but you lose a lot of time if you run it a little bit too wide there, as we stay on Rudiger Schussler, having passed Robbie Teams, the Bolt man, who's now being closed up by Yas Samai.
Yeah, Yas Samai, 4/10 of a second behind him, and once again, Atinafel. No, now it's Nathan Victor.
Wow.
That's the quickest man out there. 2 minutes 20.146 for Nathan Victor, the man from Summit Racing. Yas Samai locking up as he has a go and turns it around. He had a go there at Robbie Teams, didn't quite work out, and he's dropping all the way down that leaderboard. As a matter of fact, Mark Devereaux has gone past him after he made that little error.
Let's just have another look at that one. As he climbed on the gas, it was a case of good night, nurse. Here you go. Have a look at that from the outside. You can see he's nice and late on the brakes, closes up nice and neatly, tries to turn it in, make sure he doesn't make contact, and yeah, it just swaps ends. And as we know, that's the nature of these Porsches. The motor sits at the back, lots of weight on the back wheels, and yeah, as a lot of the guys say, if it doesn't feel like your Porsche is trying to kill you, you're not trying hard enough.
Keeping an eye on Nathan Victor in that second position. He's adapted to this car very nicely indeed. As a matter of fact, he's just overdone it, so to speak. Commentators curse, and he gets it all wrong, does Nathan Victor, and drops down to P6. He might even lose more positions. No. He's going to lose a ton of positions. He will rejoin just ahead there of Mark Devereaux, who might even eat him up as well. As a matter of fact, Devereaux does. And once again, trouble out there for Yas Samai.
Yeah, Yas Samai that got himself completely sideways. He came flying in there, hoping to make up that extra position, seeing the slower car, jumps it over that curbstone, and yeah, the rest you just hang on and wait to see what happens. Let's have another look at that Nathan Victor incident, just a little bit too hard on the gas. And then the previous Yas Samai incident, let's just have another look at that one. Also, once again, not on the brakes, but on the gas that the tail end comes around. And it was all looking brilliant. Oh, what a lovely paint job for the man in the 7 car. A little bit earlier on, Wayne Masters had a bit of an off as well. Let's just see what happened to Wayne Masters.
Just going into that, looks like
that's the second last corner.
No, that's the chicane. He went into the pits actually.
Oh, he must have had a bit of damage on the motor car then, probably. Earlier on, René Hubert. And let's see what happened to him. Probably a same and similar situation. He's definitely got connectivity problems because he's flashing. Oh, that was Herman Lazarus that had already lost it. René Hubert, unsighted, comes around turn number 1 and just hammers straight into him.
Well, you would have seen that Willem Pina was also in a spot of bother there. So now, this is where it gets interesting now, because Nathan Victor, that was in P2, 1.1 behind Atinako, finds himself in P8. He's a tenth of a second behind Mark Devereaux. But it's a lot of work for the man of Summit Racing to do as Mark Devereaux gets himself in his own little problems, and he gets overtaken there as well by Rainier Hubert.
So the young lad has started slowly with the practice session, got quicker and quicker, got a little bit too quick, lost it, dropped down to 8th position. He's now 7th position. So remember, 5.4 seconds. That is the gap to Robbie Tings. Robbie Tings just having been passed 3 laps back by Peter van Zyl.
Well, Rainier Hubert, that also made the move, has also dropped down. He's in that 12th position, now 11th, just made one back up there on Lazarus. So the guys are really battling out there with these Porsches at Spa-Francorchamps.
What cost Rainier Hubert was this one that we showed earlier on, and that unfortunately is where he lost quite a bit of time in the Wild Rose Gin 86 car, and it was no wrongdoing of his own. It was Herman Lazarus that had spun in front of him, and he was trying to make sure that he misses that. So remember this guy?
Yeah, but I think he made another mistake early on, because when Mark Devereaux went through, he came through as well, then dropped all the way down. But yeah, we remember this guy. He's nearly 5 seconds ahead of Jacky Ickx, and that is the man in the 78 car. That is race leader Atinako, sitting out there in P1, making his way out of La Source. Here comes Jacky Ickx. Now, right on his case is Low Wrigley and Rudiger Schussler, who's only 0.6 of a second behind Wrigley. So here's a lovely fight for that second position of Steyn between himself, Wrigley and Schussler. As we ride aboard with Schussler, up Eau Rouge he goes. Up Eau Rouge he goes, and works his way now through Radion and onto the Camel Straight towards Les Combes. That is that right left-hander, and right again at Les Combes. And then they'll drop down into Bruxelles, and Schussler is 0.5 of a second behind Wrigley, who's 1.3 seconds behind Steyn.
Well, that's pretty interesting. He held that together very well. He had to just feather the accelerator as he went from the rumble strip on the outside, the rough section, over a touch of sand, and then onto the rumble strip. If he had stayed hard on the gas, it wouldn't have worked for him. He's pushing very hard. He's using the whole circuit. Now, he was 0.5 of a second behind Low Wrigley when they came through Eau Rouge and up over the lip there by Radion, and then he started closing. So that tells me that this type of motor car, this shape of motor car, this version of the Porsche, if you're within 0.5 of a second, you start to pick up a little bit of a toe. So anything from 0.5, that's where it's going to be. Now, if he can get a little bit closer to Low Wrigley, the next time they're out in the fast bits, he will then be able to make use of that slipstream. And Rudiger Schussler will then get a whole heap closer.
Well, let's have a look. See, Schussler just under a second behind Low Wrigley for P3 and 4. That is Low that you see there, just ahead of Schussler, the man in that 4th position. That's going through Blanchimont and then working the way to the chicane, that right left-hander, which takes you back down onto the main straight once again and into turn 1 La Source. So Schussler is pushing hard. Rudiger Schussler in that number 4 position, the Triple 3 car pushing very hard to try and keep up there with Low. He's done a personal best of a 2 minutes 22.045, but he is dropping off behind Wrigley ahead of him.
So that man from ASAP New and Used Spares, Rainier Hubert, in the Wild Rose and ASAP New and Used sponsored car. And looks like he's going to be able to do a bit. Oops, he can do a bit of a catch up there. That was Yasamai. That was. Well, Yasamai, where did he come from? He must have had a bit of a spin.
No, he cut the corner there, Gary.
So he overshot
that right left-hander. He cut that corner, and then he was right up against Willem Pina at one stage as well. So it's not going Yasamai's way so far.
You'll see there's been a couple of times that you lose the picture on Henri Pescarolo, and that means he's got connectivity problems, and let's just hope that that doesn't affect his race as a whole. Rudiger Schussler, well, he goes up into that third. Low Wrigley virtually gave it away.
Yeah, Lowe just literally opened the door there for him. And
is that now a case of if we fight for it and we touch one another, I'm going to go a long way down and come into the clutches of Peter van Zyl? I'd rather give you that one position, not slow myself down and keep out of range of Peter van Zyl.
Look, I don't know what the guys are thinking. Anything is possible for sure, but he'll be happy that he is there in that third position, but he's 3.3 seconds behind Jacky Stein, who is 4.8 behind Atti Nagel. Remember, when we got away, Atti Nagel just pulled the pin and disappeared down the road, and then there was chaos on that opening lap, and that allowed him to get further and further away. So Schussler is in that third position. There's the man that sits out there in P1, the man that I said just pulled the pin and disappeared, nearly 5 seconds down the road from Jacky Stein. That man that is in that second position in the 88 car. Then we got Rudiger Schussler in the 222 car, and then going into the pits is Low Wrigley.
Wow, there we go. So welcome to Pedro Rodriguez, Andre van Tonner and Benito Oosthuizen that are busy watching us as we go through the ASAP new and used parts, round 7 of 8 rounds, iRSA MSA approved Porsche Cup series for 2023, and the first man into the pits is in fact Low Wrigley.
Doesn't Benito have a lawnmower to fix?
Yeah, definitely. There we go. Let's go back to the 7 of Yassamai as he works his way into the pit lane, which means that Henri Pescarolo has gone through, and he's all over the back of Willem Pina. A lovely recovery there by Henri Pescarolo.
I just had to have a bit of a dig there at Benito. Benny, nice. Good to see that you're watching. Lovely to see that everybody else is online so far. So yes, Willem Pina and Henri Pescarolo, just under 0.6 of a second between the two of them, fighting it out there for that 7th position, as Yassamai works his way out of the pit area. Well, Nathan Victor shows in P14, it shows he's out, and that's a pity though, because he started extremely well and then had problems out there, spun it off and then took a bit of a hiding. And I think he's decided to pull out of this one. The Porsches are not easy cars to drive.
No.
And there's Low Wrigley in the 44. That's also making his way out. So we're 16 minutes done. A couple of guys have come into the pits already. I think we're looking somewhere at between the 25 and 30 minute mark for pit stops for that first 4, 5, 6 guys. Maybe even up until Henri Pescarolo, if they don't have problems out there.
Now, we don't know how big or how small the window is for these pit laps, the pit times that they're doing, and lap 6 now. That means that Wayne Masters went in on lap 2. Jaco Foster, after that incident, went in on lap number 1. Is the fuel window big enough for them to be able to make it all the way to the end?
I don't know. They didn't talk about pit stops, but they normally have at least one compulsory pit stop. So let's see what happens. That man 5 seconds ahead of Jacky Stein as Atti Nagel in that 78 car that sits out there in that first position. Busy working his way around. 5.2 behind him is Jacky Stein, and 4.3 behind him is Rudiger Schussler. That's in that third position. 5.8 behind him is Peter van Zyl, and then 3.6 is Robbie Teens behind van Zyl, and then 11.7, nearly 12 seconds behind Robbie Teens is Mark Devereaux, and that is the top 6. Mark Devereaux with a Verizon sponsorship on the side of that number 8 Porsche.
But then again, he has got a fair amount of space between himself and the next man behind him, Willem Pina, who's on his way now down the hill with Henri Pescarolo, who to my mind is probably closing on Willem Pina at this stage of the fight. Let's have a look at the last lap times. Was my guess correct? Willem Pienaar at 2:26, Renier at 2:27. No, so Willem's holding station at this stage of the fight. It's up to Renier Hubert to turn up the week.
But it was 1.9. He's closed it up now to 1.3. So Renier Hubert is closing up onto the back end of Willem Pienaar. It's now 1.1. So he is definitely closing up onto the back end there of Pienaar. Renier Hubert out there with the 88. Willem Pienaar out there with a 77. It's now a second that he's just behind Pienaar, fighting it out there for that 7th position. And now it's under a second.
Well, Frankie, when you get a chance, have a look just in front of the left-hand rear wheel. There's some serious road rash on the side of that car. We'll just wait till we can pick up a camera shot on the other side. It looked to me like there was quite a bit of damage on that section of the bodywork. Let's just see if we can pick it up now as they come into the next set of bends. No, it was a reflection that we saw. It looks like it's quite fine. Either way, while we were thinking about that, Renier Hubert has now closed on the back of Willem Pienaar.
Yeah, 0.4 of a second between Pienaar and Hubert as they make their way out of Campos and out of Stavelot, working their way now towards Blanchemont as they now heading towards, matter of fact, they're going through Blanchemont right now. Is the two of them, that is Willem Pienaar and Renier Hubert, but he's right on his case. He is right on his case. We're now heading towards the end of the lap. There is that right-left chicane. The pit entrance is there on their right-hand side as the two of them work their way up that final corner, down the main straight and towards turn 1, La Source.
You realize that we were losing picture intermittently when we were on Renier Hubert's car. The moment we went to Willem Pienaar, we never lost the picture at all. Oh, he's going to turn it around. He's just been trying a little bit too hard, and the second disappointment there for Renier Hubert.
Yeah, coming out of La Source, stomped on the gas a little bit too soon in the Wild Rose Gin car, and then it just flicked itself around. As they say, it did a swapper. Well, not quite a swapper, but close enough to one. And he will now watch the Castrol car disappear down the road.
What's the definition of a swapper? You swap one direction for the other.
You swap around. The tail comes around and swaps the front end around of the car, so you do a swapper.
Well, talking about somebody that's not swapping or giving anything away, Ati Nagel doing a lovely job. He's up front and he's been there all day long. He's in fact quicker than Jaco Steyn, who said to me earlier on today when he did all the necessary setups and what have you. I haven't had a chance to practice, so I'm not going to do any other changes at all. I just need to get a chance to get out there and get a bit of time on this motor car on this specific track. And, well, he's done very well. He's just 5 seconds off the frequent flyer, Ati Nagel. He's managing to hold a decent gap as well between himself and this man, Peter van Zyl. And to my mind, at this stage of the fight, driver of the day, Peter van Zyl. He's doing very well.
He's doing pretty well. He's Peter van Zyl. As a matter of fact, my initial driver of the day is now out of the race, and that's Rudiger Schussler. Not too sure what happened there. I must have missed that. He was sitting in that third position at one point in time, was Schussler. And then all of a sudden he finds himself one lap down and out of the race. As we have a look and see,
that's connectivity.
That's the reason why.
That's connectivity. Check there. You can see it all of a sudden. He doesn't turn the steering wheel. The car just veers off to the left-hand side. And he had no control over it. Look at that. Bang! That's not a driver error.
Oh, that is bad. That's a big, big one there. And
do you think we can say Eskom 1, Rudiger Schuster none?
Well, I don't know. But the bottom line is, the man that was in my thoughts for driver of the day, he's no longer with us, together with Nathan Victor, as Willem Pienaar does a personal best of a 2:24.750 for Willem Pienaar.
So the man that was in your thoughts has been teleported to the pits.
Well, I'll tell you what, everybody that I've been thinking about had issues. He was in my mind for driver of the day. He's gone. I sang Nathan Victor's praises. We're sitting in second position. He's gone. So maybe I just shouldn't think anymore. Just commentate.
Another man that's had a shocker today is Herman Lazarus. Just hasn't worked out for him. Now, he's a man that's been getting quicker and quicker in the the whole of 2020 just locks it up. A little bit too much brake bias there on the front, but you need a lot of bias on the front wheels, because what happens is if you have less than that and you gear down at the same time, then it does a swapper. And what's a swapper? That is when you swap directions.
That's when the tail end swaps around with the front end.
And you lead with the back number plate.
Yes, and your rear wing goes where your nose is supposed to go.
Talking about that, is Yasamai closer to the back wing of Herman Lazarus? Yes, he is.
Yes, Yasamai coming back at Lazarus, sitting in that 8th position, just under 5/10 of a second between himself and Lazarus, trying to work his way back. But everybody except, I don't want to say this, except Atinachel has had no problems out there. Jacky stayed in issues right in the beginning, and by being constant and everybody else having trouble out there, he finds himself in that 2nd position, 5.6 behind Nachel, as Yasamai is having a serious look at Herman Lazarus here for that 8th position. There is a 10th of a second. Will he lunge up on the inside? He'd be very brave to make that lunge, and that is coming out of Stavelot.
He was very gentlemanly to back out of that and make sure that he didn't take the man with him. But he's got the run now. I think this is going to be it.
He's got the run here through Blanchemont. He's going to have to line him up through Blanchemont, and before they get to that chicane, try and make a lunge somewhere on the inside. That's going as quick as they can through Blanchemont, and into that chicane they go, and he's not close enough. As a matter of fact, the pits have started. René Hubert is in pit lane. Herman Lazarus is also in pit lane. I said 25 for 30 minutes.
I think Herman decided, let's go in before we end up making contact and something goes wrong. Let's rather go into the pits and get it sorted out. So who has been into the pits so far? I don't think anybody out of the top 6. Nope, nobody in the top 6 has actually been there. And, well, let's go back to that man, Atinachel. He hasn't got any further away from Jaco Steyn. So I hope for Ati's sake, you having mentioned him, so he's still got bad luck to come, maybe, with a commentator's curse. But if anything goes wrong for him, Jaco Steyn will pounce. There's no doubt about that. So he's got to make sure that he gets his entry and exit in and out of the pits 100%. And then he's also going to have to make sure that his settings are correct when he goes into the pits, that it doesn't put 2 left and back wheels on, or no wheels on the front and 2 on the back, or whatever the case is. He's got to have that lot all set up perfectly so that when he goes into the pits, it all goes fine. Will it be now? No, it will not. Will Jaco Steyn go in now? Nope, he's going to carry on through. So the next man coming through is Peter van Zyl. Look at the gap now between Jaco Steyn and Peter van Zyl. Jaco Steyn has just updusted and disappeared.
So here he comes to that chicane, the man that's now in that 3rd position, and he continues. So will Robbie Teens go into the pits? No, he says not quite yet. I think I've got enough fuel to continue for a while longer. The Verizon car, the number 8 car of Mark Devereaux, and Mark is making his way through that chicane. No, clearly they still got enough fuel to continue, maybe towards the 30-minute mark, as Willem Pinaar works his way through Blanchemont and heads towards that chicane. He rounds off the top half dozen in the Castrol car. Will he continue, or will he dive into the pits? No, another man that says, I've still got enough juice in this thing, I can continue.
Well, a big welcome to Mr. Dean Woods, that's also joining us as well, a man that owns numerous different circuits, oval track circuits out in England, and does a lot of promotion of oval track racing as well. So Dean, nice to have you on board for the 7th of 8 rounds of iRSA Porsche Cup for 2023, sponsored by ASAP New and Used Parts.
Yep, they find themselves in Gauteng. They are in Pretoria West, and give them a call if you want new or used parts. ASAP Motor Spares, asapspares.co.za. That's the World Wide Web for them. As we watch the race leader making his way out of Campos and through Bruxelles, he goes. Sorry, Stavelot, I apologize. Yes, Stavelot. And then works his way towards Blanchimont, and that's Atinagel, nearly 6.5 seconds ahead of Jacky Ickx.
So slowly but surely, he's just now starting to inch away from Jacky Ickx. He went from 5.8 up to 6.4. I don't see anywhere that Jacky's been off circuit at all, so it's purely a case of this man's pace is into the pits. Yep. Now, it's all got to work perfectly. There cannot be anything that can go wrong here. Where's Jacky Ickx following suit? Peter van Zyl a little bit further back. That is very close to the wall. Very, very close to the wall. What does Peter van Zyl do in the 33
I think he'll
car?
Go in. I think he'll go in. Robbie Teams will go in. Mark, I think they're all going to go in up until Willem Pina.
All right, there he goes. So Robbie Teams, I think they're at the end of the window. There is nowhere further to go at this stage of the fight. Mark Devereaux coming down towards the last two corners, and at around about this point, Atinagel should be on his way. Yes, Atinagel's on his way out. How far is Jaco behind him? Oh, yeah, Jaco's still pretty much equidistant, 5.1, so he made up a little bit of time there. Peter van Zyl is still in the pits. Robbie Teams is still in the pits as well. Mark Devereaux is on his way in, and where is Willem Pina? He's going to follow suit, and then the next man behind him. Ooh, everybody's going so close to that wall. What about Yas Samai? Surely he will go through, because he's already done one pit stop, so with a bit of luck, he does not have to go back into the pits again. 29.5 minutes of the 45 minutes of the round number 7 of 8 Porsche Cup 2023 under iRSA MSA, sponsored by ASAP New and Used Parts.
So Mark Devereaux comes out in P5, 14 seconds behind Teams. Willem Pina on the Castrol car. He's made his pit stop. He's busy working his way towards a pit exit. Henri Pescarolo has done a personal best as he comes storming through in the 86 car. That's the Wild Rose Gin, as he makes his way up.
It's pushing hard.
Yeah, he's pushing very hard. That's working his way towards a Camel Straight.
And he's the only man that has not done a pit stop so far.
Yeah, he's going to have to look at the dirt that's lying there. There's dirt and rubbish coming off the bottom end of that car. Did he have an off somewhere? That he picked up some mud or something under that motor car, because there's sparks and everything coming out underneath that 86 Porsche of Henri Pescarolo.
I don't see anything hanging there at all. Good evening, Martin Richards and George Skeppel also joining us as well as we watch Henri Pescarolo working his way through, and you can see he's got serious connectivity problems. The way that that picture of his is coming and going. Herman Lazarus, it just hasn't worked for Herman. Looks like he's had another off. Let's see exactly what happened to Herman. Just coming through the last two corners. So far so good. Oh, it was an off track. Oh, and he hammered the wall. Remember how many times I said that was very close to the wall? Well, Herman Lazarus eventually dumped it into the wall, and into the pits he went for that one. So Frankie, from the top end down with 31.5 minutes of the 45 minutes, Atinagel leading them out pretty decent.
Yeah, there's big gaps, 5 seconds, just over 5 seconds between Nagel and that man you saw, Jacky Ickx. Yes, Peter van Zyl, and 2.5 seconds behind him in 4th position is the Teen Bolt car, the Bolt man himself. That's Robbie Teams. There goes Van Zyl, and there you see Teams just in there behind Peter van Zyl in that 4th position. And then 15 seconds, nearly 15.5 seconds behind that man you see there, Robbie Teams. In P5 is Mark Devereaux, as Henri Pescarolo eventually pits out of P7.
He's the last man to go in. Yas Samai is still out there. And Yas Samai has had a bit of an off. Let's see what happened to him. That looks all fine. So far so good. Beautiful spray job.
Another swapper.
Yep, change of direction right.
So there is Mark Devereaux. It's a replay of Mark Devereaux in the Verizon car. Let's see what happened here to Mark Devereaux.
Everybody battles in this last complex. You just like overshoot it kind of thing. Now you got to turn it tight, try and get the hammer down as quick as possible. You see how he straightens the wheel out before he puts the hammer down to make sure that it doesn't turn itself around.
So 33 minutes done out of the 45. Lazarus that just came into the pits, he's still stationary there. This is his second pit stop, as a matter of fact. He had trouble early on, so he goes at least one lap down to Attinagel. There is Jaco Forster, that's in that 11th position. He had a horrible start. You saw his car fly across the track right in the beginning and on the opening lap, Jaco Forster, and it's been an uphill battle for Jaco Forster from then, and then in and out the pits as well, and he is in P11 and the last man so far on the lead lap.
Well, yeah, I think we can go away from those pit stops. Just for interest's sake, let's see how long those pit stops were. Was there much variation? So literally 11.1 around about the quickest, anything up to 13 seconds from the time you stop until you pull away. So just one or two of the guys. Low Wrigley, 1 minute and 4 seconds. Jaco Forster, 3 minutes 28. But remember, he had that big off earlier on, right at the beginning of the race, in fact. And that was obviously him trying to make a plan to get that car fixed. As Herman Lazarus works his way, look how tight it is coming out here. And off you go down the straight. Let's see what it's like to come out of the pits and down towards Eau Rouge, right up against the wall. An early turn in onto the curbstone, an early turn in on the apex of the corner. Oh, he lifts off, so he's not comfortable with the handling of that motor car. You need to go through there without lifting off whatsoever. Yeah, no, he's not comfortable. That car's not right. You can see he's battling with it. He moves out of the way for Robbie Teams. So even with the amount of time that he spent with that car in the pits, he hasn't managed to fix it completely, and the car's not doing what it's supposed to do underneath him. So he's got a torrid 10 minutes, in fact, on the dot with around about now. He's got 10 minutes. He's still got to wrestle that Porsche around Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, if I was him, just keep on going. Lazarus, anything ahead of you can happen. As a matter of fact, Low Wrigley is having a go at Willem Pienaar. They're sitting side by side, the two of them, as they work their way through Blanchimont, and that's heading towards that right-left chicane, and he makes the move stick at exactly the right time. No, it's not through Blanchimont, I do apologize. That is going through Lacombe. Sorry, that's Lacombe that they went through, and now they're heading towards Bruxelles.
Yep, down to Bruxelles, and then an unknown name in general on Spa-Francorchamps. The next left-hander they're going to go through, that's called Speaker Corner, and you never ever hear the commentators refer to it as Speaker Corner. They go for the bigger names. The double Gauche, G-A-U-C-H-E is the way that it's spelt. It's basically a double left-hander, pretty much the same as the Sorrel Sweep at Cologne International Raceway. Now they go down towards Les Fonds. That'll be the right-hander, then the little left-hander thereafter. Now you climb hard on the gas down towards Campus. Got to get this one very, very neat. Carry as much as you can, because from there it's flat foot all the way through Stavelot. Keep your foot down, just keep on holding on, and just keep on trucking.
Now there is it's flat foot all the way through that piece and through Blanchimont. You see they're heading towards Blanchimont. Now there with that red dot that starts the final sector. That is Blanchimont. That's basically where Blanchimont starts, and then you go into that right left-hander, and then it takes you back onto the main straight again. So Low Wrigley is 1.1 seconds ahead of Willem Pienaar, which is now just climbed to 1.2. So there's nothing between Wrigley and Pienaar in that 7th and 8th position as they work their way out of La Source. And out of La Source they go. Eau Rouge, that's what it looks like from the nose cam of Low Wrigley, going up Eau Rouge and then into Radio. Now you're going to put the car on the line and just stomp on the gas and believe that the car will come out on the right line as they go through the Kemmel Straight towards Les Commes. And the Kemmel Straight is actually, as a matter of fact, the fastest part of Spa-Francorchamps. One would think that Blanchimont would be, but it's not. Apparently, it is through Eau Rouge, Radiar, and the Kemmel Straight that is apparently the fastest section of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit.
If you look at the brake marks on the circuit going down into that specific corner, you can see a lot of the guys sweat that one out. This one, it's very, very deceiving to not run it too hard and too wide, but you've got to carry lots of speed, because whatever speed you carry there multiplies all the way down that section of the circuit. And now you've literally got to give away all and everything that you've gained to be able to make the first part of the double gaucher. And if you get through the first part without going over the line on the outside of the track limits, then you know you're going to make the second section, because there is distracted from there on out.
So we ride here with the man that's in 7th position. That is Low Wrigley. Through Campos he goes, working his way towards Stavelot. And he, that is Low, is nearly 13 seconds behind Yasamaya. But here in P10, Jaco Foster, that's in 11th position, is closing up on Rainier Hubert.
We just saw a puff of smoke.
Yes.
Is this not maybe...
Yep, another spin out there.
That was where that smoke was that we just rode through. Peter van Zyl, that had a bit of an off. There Robbie Teens goes through, and then looks like Peter van Zyl's pushing it very hard, coming through to that last two corners. Will it be a lock-up? No, just a bit of an overrun. Gets it back on the circuit as quick as possible, doesn't go over the sausage curve, gets going again. But then remember, there's not exactly a very big gap between him and the next car through behind him, Low Wrigley, as he works his way through. I think it's time for us to go back and honor the man that's been up front all day long.
Yeah, as we honor him, we're going to keep an eye on that fight for P10, because Foster is 3/10 of a second behind Rainier. That's the fight that we are seeing out. That's the only fight that's on the track at this point, is that fight for that last 10th position, with Jaco Foster busy closing up on him as they busy work their way towards they come right on the case of him as they work their way into He's sitting right under that wild rose wing of Rainier Hubert. He's Foster, and he wants to get through 2/10 of a second as they work their way down to that hairpin. That's Bruxelles up on the inside. He's left the door wide open, and Jaco Foster will move ahead there of Rainier Hubert coming out of Bruxelles.
Luckily, you carried on commentating, Frankie, because I was just about to say Rainier Hubert absorbing the pressure, and there he goes, and he runs it wide under the brakes. So Jaco, but I mean, it's not easy to stay ahead of Jaco Foster, let's be honest. Jaco Foster in most any car is always spectacular looking, because of the fact that he does these wraps on the cars, and he's one of the best in doing the wraps on these motor cars. And no matter what he drives, he's always quick. I would like to see him doing more of the different series. And another man that's getting a bit of time now to actually play and practice on his rig is in fact that man, Jaco Steyn. And since he got his new set of pedals, well, it's just all systems go for Jaco.
Yeah, he's 5.3, or almost loses a tail end there coming out of Bruxelles, trying as hard as he can to catch up to Attinagel, but he's over 5 seconds behind Attinagel at this point, and with 3 minutes left to go on the clock,
and
I was Jaco Steyn just settled for that second position.
If you think he's got 38 seconds on Robbie Teens, and Robbie Teens has actually got one position up, because Robbie Teens, it was Peter van Zyl that was in that third position. He then had the off, and at that point that is where the turnaround came, and Robbie Teens gets himself up into the top three. When last has Robbie Teens been in the top three? It's been a long time.
Has been a long time. That's why he got the name of the comeback kid, because of doing something similar last year sometime. as he sits there in that third position. The Teen Bolt car, as we like to call him, the Bolt man. Robbie Teen's there in P3. And here comes Pieter van Zyl, and he's nearly 3.5 seconds behind him. Here's Mark Devereaux, but he's going to put a lap. Yes, you could put a lap there on Lazarus. Remember, Lazarus is already 1 lap down, so he might even go further behind if Devereaux can get past him.
I personally think that Herman Lazarus didn't have time to practice before this race, because we know what he's capable of. And I also know that he's been very, very busy at cheapercars.co.za, and for all losing his counterpart, Gert du Plessis, that was made an offer that he couldn't refuse from a corporate company. And I know that Herman has not had that much time available to him to be on the rig recently, and you can actually see it in terms of just trying a little bit too hard, and it's had numerous offs.
Yeah, but not only that, because of those offs, that car wasn't working properly. You saw when he went through Radiar and onto the Kemmel Straight, how we just opened the door and allowed somebody else through there. Well, there's a photo of Nagel's father that passed away, and you see on the side of that car it says hierdie een is vir pa. So Atti Nagel doing this one for his father as he sits out there in P1, and it would be stunning for him to do that for dad and get a victory. A replay here of Herman Lazarus in the cheap odds. Once again, that's probably, yes, that's going into that final chicane. The guys are really battling in these Porsches in that final right-left corner before the main straight.
Yeah, look, let's be honest, these cars are not for the faint-hearted, and that's why you don't get that many people that take on a series like this, because of the fact that it's not just climb in and drive whatsoever, but the fact that Atti's got that on the side of his car, DN is for par, and the fact that he's winning it handsomely. Although Jaco Steyn has closed up to 3.9, but it's all good. The 45 minutes is up.
Yeah, 45 minutes done. There's he's working his way through Blanchimont and now into that final right-left chicane. And the checkered flag is out. And Atti Nagel has done it. He beats Jaco Steyn by almost 4 seconds. Might even be more than 4. No, 3.8 as a matter of fact between himself and Steyn.
Well, the two of them both will be super chuffed with that one. I could see Jaco Steyn was going to come up alongside him and show him the thumbs up. Well, the comeback kid did exactly what we like to see him do, coming back from a long way down. Robbie Teens, the Bolt man, in that third position. Not an easy run, because the next man in behind him is not that far. There he is. It's Pieter van Zyl.
Yeah, Pieter van Zyl, they're working their way. They've just gone through Blanchimont, heading towards that chicane, and that's Robbie Teens. And just behind him, you see Pieter van Zyl. That's actually gone into the pits.
Yeah, he's taken it that you go across the start-finish line where you're there by the pits. It will still give you that position as such. So Mark Devereaux comes through.
He's pulling a Michael Schumacher move here.
Yeah, I think maybe he's got to go to the gents and he hasn't got enough time to go another lap around. Yasamaya, as he comes across the line, very, very slow. Low Wrigley, not his happiest event whatsoever, but he makes it through to the end. And here comes Willem Pinaar with Wayne Masters right in there with him. The Castrol man comes through just ahead there of Wayne Masters.
Yeah, 0.3 of a second between the two of them. And here comes Jaco Forster, 8.1 behind Wayne Masters. And there's one more car out on track, the last car on the lead lap, and that is Reinier Hubert. Parts falling off that car. The bonnet has shed itself. And the bumper has shed itself. Everything is busy falling off that Porsche of Reinier Hubert. Gee whiz.
That's connectivity.
It is connectivity problems, yes, because the bonnet's come off about 23 times already.
Yeah.
As he finishes in that 11th position.
Well, he's actually lucky that he managed to make it all the way towards the end, because you often find in that situation that you lose your bearings completely, and you end up smashing the car, and then you cannot carry on from there. So let's have a look at the results of this one. Round number 7 for the season, and there's just one more to go after this one, and that's how it turns out. Atti Nagel, the success story of 2023, puts 24 points on the board. Jaco Steyn, who was one of the top 3 in the practice session alongside Atti Nagel, and then his best mate Jaco Foster. He comes in second position with the comeback kid Robbie Teens doing what we know him to do best, and doing that comeback, and although 46 seconds off, he still gets across the line in third position.
Yes, Mark Devereaux. A lovely drive there by Mark in the top 5. He finishes in 4th ahead of Yas Samai. That's also had his problems. Man, I think other than Atti Nagel and maybe Robbie Teens, everybody else had problems out there. Samai, Low Wrigley, Willem Pina, Wayne Masters, they all had problems out there. And of the 14 cars, 11 finishes on the lead lap with 2 retirements, Rudiger Schussler and Nathan Victor.
Pity about Nathan Victor, because he came along, he learned the track very quickly, he learned the car very quickly, literally lap for lap he was going better, but yeah, it didn't work out for him. Rudiger Schussler, he was also in the top 8 all day long. Herman Lazarus, I think it's purely a case of not having enough time to practice. Renier Hubert, one he would rather forget about in total, with connectivity problems making it very difficult for him. Jaco Foster, very unlucky to have that initial heavy contact, and that basically took him completely out of it. Frankie, driver of the day?
Geez, I don't know. I'm going to give it to, and I know we don't normally give it to somebody that wins, but I'm going to give it to Atti Nagel, purely because he had no problems. He had no issues whatsoever